I wonder sometimes if a new year kind of brings new birth. When I say new birth, meaning that realistically, does it birth new ideas? Does it birth new energy? Does it birth just a sense of renewing? And a lot of people take the new year or a new year differently, and we all can approach it differently. But I want to spend a little time before we kind of go into this episode of When Black Men Talk, which is brought to you by Pod Up, the folks that are waiting for you to start your own podcast and help you out. But Mr. DeMaurice, man, inside of a new year, when you think about New Year in general, because when we was younger, we thought probably you had to go out and kind of cut up the dance floor, do all that stuff, and count it down 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. That's been sold to us. But in reality, man, if you kind of put a new year into focus, what are some of the things or thoughts behind it?
I know for me, man, it's more so um, just being around friends and loved ones, or being to yourself. Or I remember when we were younger, we had the watch services where you're thanking the Creator for another year, and trying to prepare for the next one. But for me, it's more so laying back and just being grateful, man, and not taking things for granted, because I think we take a lot of things for granted, that the people that are around us are going to be here. And so I, kind of look at it as a continuation. I know it's on the calendar, but I look at it as a continuation of life. But yeah, I don't have to be out. It's nice to be out and celebrate it and count the new year in. But we used to get forced to go to church New Year's Eve when we were little, and wonder why. You had to close your eyes and pray, and just it was kind of boring to us. But now, as you get further on in this journey, you realize what our people were doing, and why they were doing it. And yeah, I know for me, I appreciate it a lot more, because um, when I was in Carolina a few days ago, you never know how many people are just praying for you, and thinking about you, and they have you on their minds and things of that sort. And for me, it's just a whole new kind of perspective in this holiday season. It's like just to be able to be around your loved ones, and share some great laughs and memories, man. For me, that's what it's all about, and I hope it continues throughout the rest of the year, to be honest with you.
Very nice, man. It's interesting you talk about going to church, man. We did that too coming up, but a lot of my mom made sure, man, a lot of our New Year's Eve was spent praying the New Year end. And I ironically forgot about that until you said that, man, to where she made sure, we were on our knees praying it in. And wow, you took me back with that. Well, Mr. Charles, man, New Year, like I was saying earlier, could mean a lot of different things for different people, but it carries some significance. It really does. And your response to it, my brother?
Yeah, I mean it does. So like you said, back in the day, it was about partying and hanging out with the right people and having a good time and talking about, man, you remember that party? Man, that was, you trying to create a memory that everybody else wish they was at, right? But now getting older, I think for me, it's more or less about understanding where you're at, how far you've come. As DeMaurice mentioned before about the being grateful and not taking stuff for granted. Because when you're young, you think you're gonna live forever. You never think anything's gonna ever happen to you because you're full of life, right? Full of life. You're like, oh, there's no way. I'm gonna be here for the. I got another 40 years before I get serious, right? I mean, you just think that mindset. A lot of young people do, but as you get older, for me anyway, it's put it in perspective from the standpoint of uh, understanding where you're at. DeMaurice mentioned about loss, people that you have lost, and more people that, as you look around you, are leaving as well. So understanding the opportunities that you may have, not so much about how much money you have, because I mean, after a while, for me, it's like if I'm happy and I can do what the hell I want to, that don't take a lot of money. The more money I have, the more I can do. I can do some great things. but I'm really looking into what can I do to be better, but also what can I do to help people. And I mean that with all sincerity because sometimes there are people in front of you, in my experience, that are hurting and you love them and you talk to them often or whatever, and nobody knows or reaches out to them to find out why they're hurting. Sometimes they won't share it, but every once in a while, if you just be quiet and show yourself to be honest and listening, somebody to show you what they need and just give it to them. Just let them know you're there, man. This is strong people. Wear a lot of masks out here, bro. And what I'm finding out is I just need to pay more attention and to be there for people who I can be there for. But in that new year coming in, I would say that oftentimes I spend it alone because I don't need all that fanfare, bro. You mentioned about going to church, that's cool, and I love to be around good people. But my connection with the Lord is with me, bro. You know, I don't need New Year's. I don't need nothing else like that. I know where I stand. I know where I come from, where my shortcomings have been, and I know how blessed I am. So uh, I take the time seriously to really understand that and try to connect and tune in. And my last point on this is, I know a lot of people may, think what they want to. You believe what you want to. That's your belief. I ain't mad at nobody. But for me, it's based on personal experience and what I've been through. And you might say, well, it's like calling the. If you have a problem, you call the police. Man, just call the police. Shit, the police were never there, bro. But I know who was. And when it's that monumental for me, that's what I roll with. And I would never waver or ever debate anybody on that. You gotta do what you gotta do for you, but I know it works for me.
I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I love that this is what we do because it's it's going to sound like I'm beating the drum for us, but in reality, where do you find cats that open up and share what we're sharing, man? It's hard to even follow what Mr. Charles has shared because I'm with that brother 1,000%. And ironically, man, a few days ago, I get show ideas that just pop in my head. To my belief, God send me stuff to just kind of throw out there. I shouldn't say throw out there, but present out here. And one of the things that I made notes for to do a show recently, man, let's talk about the greatest relationship of all, and that's our relationship with God, and to go into depth with it. And that is monumental. It's monumental among itself. That we should all carry an individual relationship in church and all that is great, but to basically have that individual relationship and that you can go to, you feel reassured and feel there's nothing better than that. I don't care if it's New Year's, end of the year, middle of the year, but man, what you just said, my brother, man, it takes it to where it needs to be. Where it needs to be. I'm appreciative that we have this platform where we can get together, and I thank you two gentlemen again, man, because you guys could be doing anything else, man. You could be doing anything else, but once a week we find a way to get together and just have conversation, man. And for me, that's priceless. That's priceless. Priceless. Open conversation, not filtered, just open, man. And I mean, again, I've said this on occasion. It's hard to get men to open up and talk. It just is, but not here. But New Year's is it, and based on what you two gentlemen said, I'm into that too. And if anything I can add, it's probably not much I can add. I look at it as you get a chance to really tighten some things up. You look at the road you travel, you're very humble, you're thankful, you understand, but you look for those areas where you know what, I could be more of a service to those. I could do some areas where you can kind of really just fine tune and do some things and kind of really make things better to me. And I'm not saying I don't have those thoughts throughout the year, but in New Year, for some reason, they tend to be a little more stronger, a little present, a little more present. And it's amazing how we all grew up, especially for young men. For some reason, sports tends to play a role in our lives. And I know for me, sometimes it get passed on through your pops. Your father may introduce you to sports. And for me, it was just a gravitation, man. When I saw it on television or saw it playing, I just wanted to be part of it. First, it was a thing where, you wanted to kind of be that star. You want to be the best at some position of doing something in a sports game. And as you start to age in life, you realize, okay, that may not happen. So, what else are you going to do? But it was just a nice dream to have when I was a kid. So, sports to me highlights the drama sometimes that goes on in life that's outside of the game. Heals is healing with the truth because when you lose a game that you put your heart into, you play something and you lose, there's a lot to deal with there. You have to face the truth. And if you face that truth of losing or whatever you expanded and it didn't happen, it allows you to grow, persevere, strengthen yourself. It gives you an opportunity to deal with the truth. And at the same time, it presents you the truth. Because in a sense, sometimes you might think you're better than what you are, and it'll show you, no, you're not. You can believe that all day. With all that being said, gentlemen, I wanted to speak on a young man that we lost recently. And Mr. Maurice, you brought it to our attention that he passed. And it was like, man, it was like almost like just a hit in the chest, man. And it's ironic how some people you never met, but you develop that rapport with them through what they do. You feel like you know them. You develop a love for them, Mr. Charles. And I'm speaking of Greg Gumbel. He was the voice of broadcasting. He's passed on. His gifts and his talents, man, they touched us all, man. So I wanted to spend a little time, I'll take the word a little while. I want to spend some time speaking on Greg Gumbel because, and to me, sometimes I'll say this before I even got to Mr. Charles, it's amazing his brother was Bryant Gumbel, for those that didn't know. And it seemed like sometimes Brian got more of the fanfare, but Greg was something else on his own. Your response, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, it's amazing as you mentioned about these two brothers. They came out of the same family, kind of went after, both went to the media arena, but they were like night and day when you saw them. I think as personalities. I say that even I don't know them, didn't know them personally, but as media types, they were two different people to me. Bryant was more the bubbly kind of charismatic individual that you had the more star on his name, if you will. And Greg was more the laid back, low key kind of. Yeah, it wasn't that really exciting, but he was about the business. The one thing I think that comes to mind about him and being part of the media before for me is professional, man. And you might call that, some people might call him corny. They know if he was down or whatever, but he was so professional no matter what he did from baseball, football. Of course, he did March Madness for years. And he was always professional. It didn't matter who he was with. And good friend that I got to know for a while is Clark Kellogg, man. And I watched Clark enter broadcasting and I watched him trying to get better and get better. He was so big, he talked with his hands, which is a no-no in TV. But he got a chance to connect with Greg, man, and they became real. They were really good friends. They were really good friends, and I saw his testimony about that man. And just in general, knowing that he was such a professional that he could help others, somebody like Clark Kellogg to become one of the best in what he does, speaks volumes, and that's how I remember him as the ultimate professional. Always handled this business, and in your type of the media, at any part of ever been a media person, you always wanted to be professional.
Man, I'm gonna tell you when you spoke of him working with Clark, but it's amazing. Whenever I saw him or heard his voice, I wanted to watch and listen. It just had that effect on Mr. DeMaurice. Your reaction to it, bro?
Yeah, he became one of those guys. He was a mainstay and a fixture, especially in NCAA basketball. And you knew when March Madness started, that first game, you heard Brian Gumbel. You knew it was on. You know, game on. You know, you got your snacks. You sitting there ready. You were ready to go. You were ready to go. But over the years, I think you know, for a lot of people, we took for granted his excellence in sports, and he covered a lot of sports, and he was kind of in the shadows of Brian Gumbel, his brother, for a long time, and he just came out of that where. I haven't thought about Brian Gumbel in a while. You know, you always think about you know, him. And so it took me by surprise. Didn't know he was sick. He kind of on the telecast just held things together and kept that professionalism because he used to have Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley on there, and they would go on tangents and stuff, but he would just bring it back to where it needs to be, and that's going to be missed, man. I was watching a clip last night of I guess Charles Barkley was talking about how he I guess when he was playing that he used to wash his uniform while taking a shower, and that was the best way to do it. And it looked like the telecast was falling apart because they were Clark Kellogg was laughing at Chuck like, "Man, what are you talking about?" And you can see Greg laughing and enjoying the moment, but just bringing it back together like where we need to be and where we need to go. He was always that constant professional, and he's going to be truly missed, man, because you're going to be. I'm going to look forward to that voice, and it's not going to be there. And it's like, wow, how do you enjoy March Madness without Greg Gumbel just coming in and just kind of, you know, having you kind of just rest assured that everything's under control. We're going to give you the information you need, and we're going to all enjoy this experience together, regardless of what teams you pick, all that other stuff. We're enjoying this stuff together.
Hey man, take a minute and talk about the sports show we do, man, because we don't talk about that enough on here, man. And that's something that you decided to do years ago, man, and it's grown, it's blossomed, and I think it's one of the best things out there when it comes to sports, bro. Because to me, when I look at sports commentating and other stuff that other people do, they're in a box. They're fit into a box. They got to say certain things, got to present it a certain way. And what you have grown and developed, bro, we don't fit in no particular box. We tore that box up a long time ago, man. So I want you to kind of share with people, how did it come to you, what your vision, how it basically came along, and where it is now.
Yeah, years ago, I was, I noticed something that, when I talk to people on the phone, I'm usually spending an hour or two on the phone talking about sports. And I was like, one day I was like, I spent like 5 hours, in front of the TV, just talking to different people about sports. And I was saying the same thing over and over again. Because people would call me and ask me, you know, whether it was you, whether it was Charles, whether it was my cousins, my father. So I'm like, man, I need to just create a show where I could just say it one time and everybody could just watch it. And I envisioned it like we were just sitting in the living room, sitting around, just chewing the fat. And to me, it wasn't like our conversations are much more, we talk about sports, it's much more real than what they do on television. And I wanted to get that realness of talking about sports from our perspective, and really kind of being a platform where the quote unquote average guy can give his opinion about what he was seeing out there that we really wasn't getting from like regular sports shows for whatever reason. Sometimes they just don't tell the truth, or they can't give their genuine opinion about a player, a team, or sports in general. So I just wanted to create something that we can get together once a week, or how many times a week we could, to just create a platform where we can speak our mind and give folks what they weren't getting. And I always said that we're the Bernie Mac of sports because we say what people are afraid to say. And we bring it to a platform where, over the years we took on, like, I know when we did our podcast, we didn't want to be identified, but now we don't care. We don't care. We get it out there. If you want to say something about us, cool. But we're going to give our opinion. And I don't know about you guys, but I get people all the time like, man, what you said, such and such, or what Ice said, such and such, or what Black said, man. I was thinking, man, and you're not getting it from the regular sports shows. I'm not even going to call the different sports shows, but I wanted to put it out there so people can really kind of get the real deal of how people feel about certain athletes, certain teams, give our predictions because, man, it's been, we've been doing the NFL picks for years, and our picks are always, the percentage of our picks are always better than the so-called experts. And, it tickled me, man, because on Christmas, I was watching Pop wear his jacket, just strutting around like a peacock, man. Like this is the show I'm on, And even though we never see Pop, he's strutting around in that jacket, like, yeah, this is my jacket. And he explained why he chose the number 11. It was one of his favorite numbers. Um, on why when he played baseball, and he gave off a bunch of numbers, and my niece was writing down the numbers. She's like, I'm gonna play lottery with these numbers because he gave off a number of numbers that he used to play with, and I remember some of those numbers, but I never saw him in number 11, and that was one of the first numbers he played under. But we just want to give a different perspective. We have our rants, and it was just a platform where we can just speak our mind, and you know, and it's a great show if you're tired of the same rigmarole that you're hearing in sports shows. It gives a unique perspective. We None of us play professional sports, but we played enough sports to know and understand and to give educated, answers to things that we're seeing. And most of the time, we're dead on, if not all the time. Most of the time, we're dead on. We fight, we argue, we disagree. But man, I'll tell you what Pop told me when I was getting off the plane. I don't know. He said this to me. He's like, I don't know what I would do without you, but I'm saying it to you two. I don't know what I would do without you two, and him, because it's a pleasure to do that show and edit it and put it on YouTube every week. And while I'm editing, I'm laughing at the same stuff we're laughing at, and I get to watch that show, 2 or 3 times because I'm editing and putting it on YouTube. But I hope people enjoy it. Check us out. It's the First 40 Sports Show with the squad. We used to be known as the Goon Squad, but we changed that due to some, incidents that happened with a police force who used that name and did some things, some racially disgusting things to our people. So we just cut off the Goon and the NFL picks, and then the fight game, which seems to be with me and Ice, Mr. Charles, that seems to be picking up a lot of ground, talking about our favorite fighters, whether they're boxers or MMA. And a lot of people always, always, always talk to us about all those shows. And they get their predictions, they put their bets in, stuff like that. So we think people ain't watching, but they are. I don't know if YouTube is fudging the numbers, but they are, and I get a lot of people that I know and people I don't know. Like, you, that guy on that show. I recognize you from. I recognize your voice. I recognize this. So, yeah, man, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we can get a bigger platform. I would love that, so we can fight these guys for real. Fight all the known sports guys for real, and we up for it. We up for it. We ain't no punks. We will stand toe to toe with anybody, any sports show no matter where they are, who they are. We will stand up toe to toe, and I bet you we come out the victors in any one of these shows.
There it is, man. There it is. There it is. And thanks to you again, bro, because a lot that we have done over the years, sports show, this show, whatever, bro, started with you, man. Started with your thought, your vision, your persistence, and we owe you a big thanks, bro. We really do, man. We probably don't thank you enough. We tease the hell out of you, but we don't thank you enough. But we don't want to thank you. But I'm really being sincere when I say that, because yeah, man, you have brought, I don't know, sometimes you sit back and just kind of really think about it, man. But if you look at what you have started, what has basically come from, how it's grown, how it's blossomed in different areas, man, it's beautiful, cuz. Beautiful, man. The heart that you have and the mind, man, will you a lot of gratitude, without a doubt. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you got it, man. Gentlemen, it's interesting because we spoke with Greg Gumbel, and it's another cat that's in sports now. I want to give him some flowers, bro, because I'm always attracted to who gives it to me straight, who ain't afraid, and basically will give it to you straight, and whatever happens afterwards, let it happen. Where the tea leaves or the leaves fall, damn it, I don't care. And Mr. Charles, man, I want to get your opinion on this cat, Ryan Clark, because Ryan Clark stepped into the media circle a few years ago after playing so many years in NFL, and he's built a following. But I swear now, it's to the point now where if I see him in a video or he's somewhere speaking, I'm taking time out to listen. And I'm gonna tell you right now, there aren't many people, many individuals I do that with. But when this cat starts speaking and talking, I love it. Your response to it, Mr. Charles One Ryan Clark.
Yeah, I think he's grown on me. When I first heard him, it was I guess I was comparing it on his show with the other two gentlemen that are football players, former football players, and it's almost as if he wanted to be, seemed like he wanted to be the one that was the not so the perfect one, but the one that was just the righteous one, right? He's always trying to be correct, and I'm like, man, come on. But then as I listened to him more and more, I realized one, you don't agree with everything everybody says, but I understand where he's coming from, and I'm never upset about anybody else getting their shine on, and he's done that. He's come a long way, and he's not afraid to take on some very controversial situations. But I guess the one thing that I'm learning more about him is when I learn about his background, where he's coming from, and what how he came up, he's a different kind of dude, and I had appreciation for him even more once I learned more about him. But overall, I think he's solid. I really do. I think he's solid. I listen, and I'm trying to learn more because I can be quick to try not to judge people. I'm like, I listen to that corny muff, you know what I'm saying? But I had to, I had to pull back and realize everybody ain't got to be all hardcore and but like all that other crap. But you just have to understand we're all different, and you have to respect people in the space that you're in.
Yeah, it's true, man. Yeah, we find different things at different people at different time. I love the fact here, Graham, and like Mr. Charles, he's grown. And I remember I saw the segment where he was on ESPN. He was saying something, and Molly started yelling at him. He said, "Molly, you're not gonna yell at me." He said, "Stop." He said, "First of all, stop yelling at me." And she was like, "Whoa." It was like, mm-mm. And I love it. He didn't raise his voice. He was like, "I'm here to have a conversation." In so many words, I'm here to have a conversation. You're not gonna disrespect me like that. You could disagree with me, but I ain't gonna allow you to disrespect me like that. And for whatever it's worth, I should like Molly, but she's a brainless, pretty face on television. I ain't ashamed to say it. I ain't gonna hold back from saying it. But I guess you feel because Stephen A. Smith's been licking her up and down all these years like she's something special. Your response to Ryan Clark, Mr. Charles? I mean, Mr. Demarest?
Yeah, man. He does what we do, and like he's the one that when they're talking about the subject, I remember he was talking about a subject not too long ago about the Bears, and he was like, "Why are we sitting up here acting like or trying to really kind of dissect the Bears now? We knew this back then, but some of y'all said that they were the team that was up and coming. And they're gonna do this, and they put the pieces together." And he kind of does what we do because we've been saying we'll say certain things, and people will kind of get back at us like, I ain't agree with what you said about such and such and such and such. But when it plays out, they're like, man, y'all were dead on with stuff. So I appreciate him not trying to be the company man and having his own podcast because I think he has his own podcast because usually, in the network that he's on, the major network he's on, if you say something out of line, they're quick to just pull the plug on you because they got a company man there and an idiot as a company man, and he's going to say exactly what they want him to say. But I think he did the pivot to say, you know what, if this doesn't work out, I can go back and do the pivot and say what I want to say and be really honest. He's been really honest about Aaron Rodgers because a lot of these sports networks want to really kind of cater to an athlete and not kind of expose them or who they are. He did it. I mean, and when I think about Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, they were coddled in Wisconsin. A lot of the stuff that they were doing up there, they got away with. But as soon as both of them, think about it, both of them went to New York and they got exposed. They got exposed. And he was one of the first ones I heard that really exposed them and then took it to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers tried to say something about him, but wouldn't call his name. But Ryan Clark called him out by name and like, dude, this is what you did. This is what I'm reporting. If you got a problem, I can handle it any way you want to handle it and you ain't heard from Aaron Rodgers since. And so I like that. I like that. And we're like that too. We ain't afraid of anybody. We'll handle it any way you want. But if you put it out there, we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna give our opinions about it because you're a public figure, and this is what you signed up for. You don't like it, tough, and that's the way he is. That's why when I see him on the social media, on the on the coming down my line, I'll stop in and figure out what he's trying to talk about, and usually I agree with him, about a lot of stuff because he's not afraid to say what he needs to say, and he's man enough to say, hey, if you want to handle it a certain way, we could be like Goldie in that movie. We can handle it like men, or we can go into some pimp shit, and that's the way he is, and that's the way we are.
Yeah, I love that. You're right about the Aaron Rodgers thing. They've been basically kissing Aaron Rodgers every way upside down they want to. And as I said earlier, it's hard to find commentators that speak what they feel because they're just trying. It's amazing to me. They're just trying to maintain a paycheck. So they know what the company wants to hear, and you said a company man, company woman. That's what they try to maintain to do. God bless you if that's what you want to be, but you should not be afraid to be who you are. And I've noticed they've allowed him, this company, to be who he and not have no repercussions, and I love that. He wasn't afraid to push it right to that point. And I remember about a year ago, he was up for a new contract, and I'm sure he kind of made that part of his contract. You know what? I'm not going to be this bling bling bling. That's being your own man. And in society, as I look at it from time to time, I hate when black men are not their own men. We're the originator man on this earth, this world. So when you give that up, you done gave up everything, boss, for a paycheck. And the clown that you're talking about, he gave that up a long time ago. He don't know. If you stand him up right now, he don't know how to stand up. He done been basically being thrown around, blown around. He doesn't know how to be his own man. He didn't. He did what he had to do. He thought to survive and got him, I guess, where he wanted to be. But in reality, when you choose to be your own man, you're gonna have people that dislike you. You're gonna have detractors, but so what? You're true to yourself. What's better than that? And that's what I love about Ryan Clark. You're right. When he call out somebody, he ain't calling you out by, I so and so or this person. No, he's gonna give it to you straight. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers wasn't used to that. He used to whatever he say, whatever they just kind of play around with it. And even the coach that got fired with the Jets, he was afraid to say when Aaron Rodgers decided to go to Egypt when he's supposed to be at practice. No. Well, yeah, he's not. No, say that motherfucker should be here doing his job. Don't be afraid. Stop kowtowing. You got fired anyway. Realistic at the end of the day. Not for that, for something else. As a man, stop being afraid to open your mouth and speak. And Ryan Clark is not afraid to open his mouth. And we ain't got to love everything he says. The majority of the time, like you said, Mr. Reese, I agree 100%. I love the fact he starts to pivot. He basically, like you said, if it doesn't go through, but at the same time, he's not putting all his eggs in somebody else's basket. We should have our own baskets, our own individual where our eggs go in. Why are we giving all our energy and our talent to somebody that may not really appreciate it? And I love that part about him. I want to swing this. We're talking about sports. And sometimes sports can be divisive, just like the real world can be divisive. And recently, a young lady won Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. Talking about Caitlin Clark. We really haven't talked about her for the most part. Really was, and in a sense, was really no need. But if we're going to be doing sports and kind of basically showing some of a connection to life, I think she's ideal to bring up and have a conversation on. And I look at her in a sense, and I'll start here. Congratulations to her. I think she's an awesome talent. I think the way she's handled herself, everything that's going on, everything that's came at her, she's done well, very well. And I think sometimes we forget when we look at people how young they are and the pressure that they're under. And it's easy to stand back at an older age and launch things at a person, but imagine yourself back at that age. What would you be doing? How would you be handling? What mistakes would you make? What things would you do? So it's easy 30, 40 years removed to launch at, because I know a lot of us, we were 21, 22, we'd have been fucking up all day. With that being said, Mr. DeMaurice, I'm just wondering, and congratulations to her, and we're going to, speak on her for a little bit. But what if Caitlin Clark was black? Stop and think that for a second. because I think she's a super talented woman. Without, I do. I think her year in the WNBA, she's turned it on fire. Her game, I watched her game grow as she was in the WNBA. And I didn't know much about her in college, but I know on the sports show, I think in her sophomore and junior year, Mr. Charles spoke of her. And when he spoke of her, I started paying attention to her. But the question would start off with Mr. DeMaurice, what if she was black? What would be different?
I think if she was black, she'd be treated like Angel Reese and some of the other black players that have come through the WNBA. And I think she would be even more criticized if she was black. I think what she's privileged, and I think she's recognizing that, and I think she's learning. She's learning what society is about, and how they can cheer for you one day and boo you the next day because they look at you as a symbol, whatever symbol they look at, whether they're white or black. But I think she was when she first came in the league. I think she was humbled because she didn't kind of set the league on fire when she came in. She struggled, and so I think I truly believe some people got to her and got to her ear about the platform that she has and how she can use it. And I think she's learning how to use that and going in the right direction. I did like the way she acknowledged players before her, which didn't get a lot of that when she came in the league because people were looking at her as the next Larry Bird of women's college basketball. And that was a lot of pressure. And folks made it clear to her when she came in that you're not going to have an easy time. You're going to have to work and earn uh, for everything that you get in this league, just like everybody else. So I think she's learning. I think she's a talented player. Hopefully she'll get better. But I hope in the future she uses her platform to bring up the league because as Ice or Mr. Charles had mentioned that the league is still hemorrhaging money, millions of dollars, and even with her success in the league and getting the accolades, that league, if it keeps losing money, it's not going to be in existence if it keeps losing money. Maybe it's a tax write-off for the NBA. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's you can see her continuing to mature and learn. Because I'll be perfectly honest, I did not like how they treated her and put her on a pedestal at Iowa, and she got away with a lot of stuff. But you can see that the things that she used to get away with in college, as far as yelling at refs and temper tantrums and playing a little dirty, that's not going to fly in the WNBA. And you can see her slowly but surely working harder and acknowledging that and becoming a better, not only just player, but a person.
Perhaps overnight, bro. I want to come back to a question because you said she would have been treated like Angela Reese. And I want to come back to that in a little bit. I want us to kind of compare and what would be the difference. But your response, Mr. Charles, because, you know, this young lady took home Times Magazine Athlete of the Year. Congratulations to her. And, Mr. Reach touched on a lot of different things. I like, too, that she stood out basically. And I think she's grown. I think she's grown in a short period of time. But I wanted to get your response to what if she was black? What do you think might be different?
Yeah, I think first of all the media exposure would have been different, right? Way did they cover her? For me, it's sometimes, and they may not say this, but by the actions of the media over the years, it's shown that to me that they are the media, mainstream media. It seems like they're always looking for a great white hero. Yeah, and I think that's because many of the team sports, the superstars, they're dominated by African Americans or people of color. So when you have a person of a different hue that shows up and they're really good or solid, I think the mainstream media gravitates to that, and you can see it. And it's kind of bizarre, and I think this was her scenario early on because she went through was at Iowa and it was growing then, and then she comes to the WNBA struggles early on, and then when she starts to advance and get better, then it's they right there. And not saying that she does not deserve some of the things that she's earned, because she is good. She's very good. But when you put somebody on a pedestal above all others, when this is going on before, kind of makes you wonder. Well, she must be a difference maker, where she's going to win all these titles and stuff. But we don't know. We don't know yet. It's still early. But I'll say this: I think her growth. She showed me a lot in her growth, because the factor that she is, acknowledging that the previous predecessors in the league and in basketball is very important, because it shows me that she's grown and she's not no longer buying into the hype of being this beautiful, wonderful person that they love, and their answer, they're the person that they look to, and they want to make very popular. When she said that, it shows that it's very important that she recognizes too that this sport and the way that it's played, and this sport is definitely bigger than her, and she's part of a group. No matter how many games you play or how great you are, even if you never played again, one thing about team sports, they do go on. May not be on the level that you may think they are, but they do go on. You got to realize you are part of a whole. You just happen to be a great individual, but you're still part of a whole overall group that was started before you.
Yeah, I hear both you guys answer. I think you guys are both dead on. I really do. I think I like what you said, Mr. Charles, about the media though, and it's and that to me is the truth, my brother, because they're looking for, and and it happens to be white because there's more white people, and I'm not saying race doesn't play a part of it, but they're looking for when a white person can dominate a sport that usually is dominated by black people. Of course, they're going to rally around that. But let's go to the other side of the coin. Let's just do that because that's what we do here when black men talk. When Tiger Woods came out, for the most part, they did the same thing. And Tiger Woods faced the backlash for being a black golfer, but it wasn't from the media. But we forget Tiger Woods stepped into an arena of a sport that was dominated for the most part by white men. So when he came along, he basically, when they came across him, they did the same thing, and they helped kind of build Tiger Woods. His game was phenomenal, get me wrong, but they built him the same way. Now I'm gonna use another person, and I want to come back to you, Mr. Charles, and I'm gonna hit you with this question too, Mr. DeMaurice, because this is what I'm hearing, and I believe when we all kind of basically agree, she basically grew, excuse me, in a year's time outside of college. Young lady, 21, 22, might be 23 at this point, grew a year time, humbled herself to the I mean, the people that came before her. I look at a LeBron James, who's been playing the league for what, 20 some odd years. He spends more time trying to say he's better than the people that's come before him, no matter what color they were. And I see that with Tiger to an extent too, but not fully. Tiger does go back and pay, but I'll focus more on LeBron and maybe Tiger like a 1A or 1D or whatever. But we don't get mad at when LeBron doesn't humble himself, Mr. Charles. I'm not saying we got mad at Caitlin, but why is it that, when she was getting attention and all that, and if she didn't humble herself, we wouldn't feel a certain way about her. But we don't bring that same thought process to one LeBron James. That's for you, Mr. Charles. We'll start with you.
Sure. I think the reason why, at least for me anyway, is the fact that, again, it's back to the media. The media was like put her up there as if she was the greatest thing, and she had not even played really a season yet, and she struggled early on. Even in college, it was like, oh, their eye was the greatest thing ever, and then when they lost, everybody was like, well, how come your great person didn't take them to the championship? Because that's the point of making people better and being a leader. Maybe she didn't have enough people around her. I get that, but when she that energy from the media transferred over to WNBA, more people start watching, which is great. But then it was like she's this, and then when the WNBA, the other players started to push back on her a little bit and give her some rookie bumps and stuff like that, then everybody was like, well, they just treating her wrong. They trying to go after her. They nobody likes her, but she improved to her credit. But I think the media did that. But in regards to like LeBron, um, the media he does the talking about it. But I think the problem for him, and it has been, his stats and the stuff he's doing, and he's still falling short in a number of ways compared to other folks, puts him in a different area. So the media does pump him up, but for her, I thought they put him up on another level. We don't talk about LeBron like that because he talks about himself, but I think because he has not been as dominant as he's been very good, but he still is falling short when we talk about the greatest of all time. And one last thing I'll say about Tiger Woods, if I may. I mean, love him, hate him, whatever. The one thing Tiger Woods did then was a little bit different than Caitlin Clark, and she still has a long way to go. Same way with LeBron. There became a point that they did not. I mean, they did not want Tiger. They did pump Tiger Woods up a little bit, but there are a lot of people that did not look like him that did not like him. But he
Yeah.
was so damn dominant. If you go
Dominant.
back
Yeah.
and look at it, dominant,
Yep.
dominant. I say that again. They could not deny. And I'll
Yeah.
say,
Yep.
anybody say this, I'm gonna get out this point. And like I said, love him or hate him. The people, it was more or less a white sport, and when it comes to golf. But I will tell you this, and this is the one record I always remember about him, that I will never ever. This will let me know he's one of the greatest of all time. You have guys that became the number one player in the sport at a certain time. They go along, go along, go along, and then sometimes they're good, sometimes they have a bad day or a bad night. Tiger Woods went 7 years without missing a damn cut. You go back and look that up. 7 years. That dude never missed a cut and was always somewhere around playing for the next day in the tournament. So what that means when you say not missing a cut, there's like usually 3 to 4 days of a golf tournament. And if you don't get a certain score based on what play on the first day, you have to pack your stuff and go home. This dude went 7 years without being cut. I'll leave it there.
But my question back to you, Mr. Charles, and I'm just going to kind of refine this just a little bit more, kind of, yeah, refine it just some. It has LeBron, because I'm with you when it comes to Tiger. I'm totally with you. Because if Tiger to me didn't humble himself, oh well. And I believe I've seen Tiger humble himself to other things that kind of went on in his sports career. But has LeBron James point blank, and I get the media, I get LeBron James talking, I get his pitfalls, I get for all that stuff. We've seen this young lady do it within under 12 months. Has LeBron James humbled himself?
I say no. I say
Okay.
no. But I think at the same time, depending on where you come from and what age you are and whatever range you are, I'm not sure how many people think LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. I don't see that. And with Caitlin Clark, depending on who you talk to, they're like, oh, she the greatest. I mean, whatever. I mean, in under 12 months, yeah, you're right. She's amazing. But you know what? Like they say, what's the old, our famous phrase? And I get off of here. You want to crown her? Crown her. She is who you thought she was. I'm just saying. Yeah, can we get a little bit more of a sample? What she gonna do in 2, 3 more years?
They gonna
They,
crown him.
they crowning her.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they crowning her. Damn. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's amazing. But you ain't won no championship. You got in the playoffs. You looked okay, but you didn't do nothing. You still play well, but your team. It is not golf. It's not an individual. It is a team sport. So granted, I think she's amazing. Let's give her a little time for you trying to put her on this pedestal. They have crowned her, wanted to crown her, and now it's kind of subsided a little bit. But let's give her a little room before we talk about how great she is, because the other women are like, well, damn, she got here. Did she win the title? Well, she's all that. Why would she dominate? Why would you not take over? Tiger Woods, even though he's by himself, he came in there, he dominated. He dominated so much that you had old white men that was mad as hell that he won, and all they could do was talk about a cultural thing. That when he had that tournament, had that dinner, make sure you serve fried chicken. All this, really, that's to let you know there's haters out here. But my point of it is, let her let it marinate. Let her show us more progress. Let's get more of a sample of what she's going to be down the line. Then, if you want to say, hey man, after 4 years, she was better than this, that, and that, and that. But damn, 12 months, greatest player ever. Change basketball. Save the WNBA. Did she save it? Still lost $40 million. Last time I checked, did she really say that shit? She might have got a few more other people looking, but did she save it? I'll leave it right there, bro. Come on.
I love these conversations,
Yeah.
baby. Now I love them. I love these conversations. I'm gonna just say this to you real quick before I come to your message, Reese, because I saw this the other day about LeBron. Now, basically, 45% of people weren't watching basketball on Christmas Day. The grading was down 45% from last year. That's a tremendous drop. I want to bet right now the TV contracts are damn near knocking on the NBA for some rebate money. Quiet as this kept. They were because you're telling me I'm going to have 45% less viewers watching my commercials. They're not happy. But they had the nerve to come on the day after, some young commentators, and call LeBron and Curry one of the best rivals ever. I didn't even know they had a rival. I didn't know.
Uh,
How's that a rivalry?
I.
Come on, bro. I
Mm.
didn't know. I mean, and what the young cat was talking. Oh yeah, I'm saying, wait a minute. And then it was a young brother saying this, and a young sister saying this, and then you went to an older white gentleman, and he said, "I gotta disagree with you." He said, "Maybe you don't remember Michael Jordan and the Knicks.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't remember Michael Jordan in Detroit.
Larry Bird
Maybe
and
you don't
Magic.
remember Larry Bird and Magic. You don't remember Detroit Pistons and the Lakers."
Yeah.
Hey, hold on a second. How about the greatest rivalry we don't even talk about? We don't even think about. I don't care if you're born or not, because I didn't see some of it. Walt Chamberlain and Bill
Bill Russell.
Russell.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah. I just think people like in each era they try to pick out that we're the best and forget what you saw before. But I'm gonna go back and I'll bring it full circle to Tiger Woods. Me and my cousin were talking about this a few days ago. We were having lunch and we were talking about this. And Tiger Woods, his thing was Tiger was so dominant. The fall, it was so sudden. It's like how did that happen? But Tiger was so dominant that they could not ignore him because golf is basically, when you look at a white man's sport, that nobody really watched. And then when Tiger came on the scene, he was so dominant they couldn't ignore him, and they made a lot of money with Tiger Woods because he revitalized golf. People wanted to see. Matter of fact, if Tiger Woods is there watching the golf game, they're going to spend more time looking at Tiger than I don't even know who's golfing right now. That's how dominant he was. You didn't know who else was out there, and you still don't. That's how dominant he was. And when he is about to get into one of the different PGA events, all eyes are on him. That's how dominant he was. LeBron James, he was crowned king in high school because they had nobody to kind of put that on after Michael Jordan left. There was nobody there. They had the media really kind of put him up to be the king, and they changed the rules. They did the same thing to Michael Jordan. They changed the rules to make him king. They call him King James. They called him that for a reason. They wanted him to take over. Now Zion Williamson, he messed that up. He was the heir apparent, but he eating his way out and getting hurt out the league. Bro, you had it. You had it all. You had it all. They could have put the crown on you. But the NBA needed that marquee player, and LeBron. It's almost like LeBron couldn't avoid just not being humble because everywhere he was going, everywhere he was doing, and the Dream Team really kind of messed it up for everybody in a sense, but made it good for them because they made money going across the world and everybody looking at NBA players. Now it's at the point where he's at the end of his career. I don't know how long he's going to play, but they don't have an heir apparent. So I mean, everything you see on ESPN is about LeBron James. A football game is on. LeBron James tweeted this. Who cares what he thinks about a football game? I don't care about what he thinks about a football game. You know, he should be doing something else anyway. But they crowned Caitlin. They crowned him the Great White Hope. They crowned him, and it put a lot of pressure on her. There were people. You had the MAGA, the Republican. Folks who follow that egghead, that wanted her to be the one, and thought that since she was from Iowa, that this was their person they were going to crown, and she kind of backslap them and like, you're not part of my group, and I'm going to acknowledge the people that you don't like. And I'm in the sport, just like Larry Bird said, I'm in a black man sport. I mean, that's why a lot of people have allegiance to Larry Bird, because he and Ice or Mr. Charles has said this a long time ago. Like, listen, I play in a black dominated sport. And the thing about Larry Bird is, there are many reports where he was really kind of offended when you put a white player on him, because he knew the deal. I ain't gonna get no points on no white guy guarding me. I want the best of the best to guard me. Charles Barkley tells the story like, man, you guys make me upset. Why are you gonna put a white guy on me? But he acknowledged that, hey, I'm good because I play with black players, and it's a black dominated sport, and I acknowledge that these guys are dominant in this sport. So when they tried to crown her, she got humbled. She really got humbled, and she really realized. I think she realized I got to earn my keep here if I'm going to have some longevity in this sport, and I got to honor the folks that came before me, because that's not what was being said when she was in Iowa. And some of the the black players who made their bones in this league was like, you ain't just gonna crown her, and she ain't played a day in this league. You ain't gonna just crown her like she's gonna be the best ever coming in, and she's just gonna take this, league, up into the heavens and all that other stuff. She gotta. Even Diana Taurasi was saying she got a lot to learn, and when she come over here, we're gonna have something for her to teach her that she needs to be humble and she needs to earn this. But LeBron was never. It was never. He was given this. He was given this, and he was coddled. He was coddled. You couldn't touch LeBron, just like you couldn't touch Michael Jordan at one particular time. It's a foul. You look at him hard, it's a foul. And he has used that. He's a crybaby. You touch him, he fall out on the floor trying to get these calls. He's gotten used to that. It's got to his head where he thinks he's the greatest ever because everybody is telling him that. Networks are covering him constantly. I bet you can turn on the TV and somebody's talking about him on that network right now while we're doing this show, because they have hung their they grabbed onto his cape, and they're gonna ride him until he goes out. Man, when he retires, oh my God, I'm not gonna turn on the TV. When he does his retirement tour, I'm not turning on the TV, bro. I'm not. I'm not. Because they're crowning. I think each era wants their the number one. People talk about Kobe. Rest in peace. Not the greatest player to play in the NBA. They talk about LeBron. Oh, LeBron and Jordan. It's no comparison. It's no comparison. But people in this era who watch them play and that's all they know, they wanna give him this prize. I get it, because we gave our great athletes at the time the prize. But I think we're more realistic on who are the greatest, of all time, because we look at history. We look at, we pay homage to the players that really started this. But a lot of people don't do that because they're just in the right now. They don't care about what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. They just care about right now, what they can get, instant gratification. And whoever said that Steph Curry and him, the greatest rival, man, they lost. They just lost. I don't know what to say. This is my first time hearing it. I don't know what to say. And you need to do your research before you open your mouth and say stuff like that. Seriously.
Now, the same question to you, DeMaurice. You gave a lot. Good stuff, man. But the straightforward question would be, has now, and I get what the media done to him, and they're all on their way doing the same thing to Caitlin Clark. But it's a 2 point question. I'm gonna just roll this back to you. Has LeBron humbled himself? And the second part of the question I'm gonna give to you too, Mr. Charles, is that as we speak, what did Caitlin Clark do wrong? So that we start out with that with you, Mr. DeMaurice.
Yeah, I think LeBron hasn't humbled himself. In different interviews I've seen with him, he'll mention the different greats, but the way they pumped his head up, he actually believes he's the greatest of all time. He's the king. If you're the king, you think you're it. And I don't think he's humbled himself. Maybe he's humbled himself privately to Bill Russell when he was living, to Dr. J and all those. But I don't think he is. He doesn't present himself as doing that because they've given him so much. Why be humble when you're it for folks? They can't live without you. Why humble yourself? So I don't think he's humbled himself unless he did some interview where he's given acknowledge of where he got his game and all that stuff. But I haven't seen it, and I don't see it in his actions. But they've given him the NBA carte blanche. I believe they give him he gives them ideas about the All-Star game and all that other stuff, and it's total trash now. They've gotten away from the rules of the game. They've gotten away from the essence of basketball, and it's about the stars. And that's where you gave a great commentary on our last sports show on why the NBA is tanking. And people, please go back to the first 40 sports show and Black Door's explanation. I gotta get that clip and say they've gotten away from the essence of NBA basketball so much, and they cater to the stars that they forgot about the game. And that's what people want to really see. They want to see the game. The stars are fine, but they want to see the essence of basketball. They want to see the competition, and he's taking that all away. So if he's allowed to do that, why would he be humble? If he's allowed to do anything he wants, take over the game where whatever he does is fine, when he can go through a game with no fouls, and when he's fouling and doing all that stuff, and he's taking over, and they're giving him the it. He's the man. I am him. Why would he be humble? Why?
Okay. Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna throw this out real quick, and I'm gonna say this not even real quick. I'm just gonna throw it out. I look at us as three gentlemen. We all find ways and times in our life to humble ourselves, and I hear all that, Mr. DeMaurice, about what the NBA, the media, how they changed the game. So that's why he has humbled himself. But I'm gonna tell you the main reason why he has humbled himself. You ain't gotta agree with me. He had no father in his life, bro. Because Mr. Charles, your dad was not gonna allow your ass not to be humble. Mr. DeMaurice, I know your father. Ain't no way in the world you're gonna be in his life and not be humble. Same thing, my pops. My mother was the same way too. I'm gonna give her props when it comes to that. But when you don't have a dad in your life, we ain't gotta talk about this. I'm just gonna just put this out there. It makes it easy not to humble. I remember a story that Shaq told one time. And you might remember this. Shaq was out there having a bad game, acting stupid. Timeout came along. Shaq's stepdad, wasn't even his dad, stepdad stood up and said, "What the fuck are you doing? Get your head in this game and start playing better." That's humble. Humble. So a lot of times when we look at people that don't want to, especially men, I'm not saying this 100%, go back to their childhood. I understand about where you come from and all. I get all that. And he's done a great job from where he started to where he is, not taken away from him. But if you don't have someone, usually that dad, that says, nah, I don't care how big you get, you're still just this. I don't care what they say about you, you're still just this. Humble yourself. Never think you're greater than what you are. That's why LeBron can't pay true respect to no one that came before him. You don't respect him. You think he's better. And LeBron, you wouldn't even last in a Michael Jordan era. More or less to be compared to, you wouldn't even last. You were going on crime with your thumb in your mouth. If you had to run into Mahorn, bro, you wouldn't even last. Last. And then once you got past him, Bill Unbearable were waiting to clown you. You wouldn't last. Chuck Daly would have divided rules for you. LeBron would have retired. Tired. So I come back again. I want to come back to Caitlin Clark. Mr. DeMaurice, what has she done wrong? Because, and I'm not trying to take up for her. I'm just looking at her 1 year, and all what we say is true. But this young lady, I'm just speaking it, white young lady decided to humble herself in a matter of 12 months. And we got our man running around here for 20 years, and y'all gave great research. But I was asking, what did she did wrong? That's all I want to know. It could be short. What did she do wrong?
Well, to me, that humility wasn't there in Iowa, because anything about Iowa, when you're in sports, you're the thing. You are her. and you really didn't see that because she was letting the media kind of do whatever they did, and then she got humbled. She got humbled by the players when coming in the league. So I didn't see that. I'm not saying that she did anything wrong, but I did not see that humbleness when in Iowa. I did not see. I saw the arrogance. I saw that the privilege, and I saw that there were games that were really suspect on and pushing Iowa as far as they can go. So to me, I did not see that humbleness until she got into the WNBA. To be perfectly honest, I didn't see that humbleness until they said, you know what, nah, you're not going to be on the Olympic team. These folks earned their right. You didn't earn your right, so you're gonna have to stay home while you watch the Olympic team. In Paris, France, or whatever. So I didn't start to see that humbleness. And not saying she did anything wrong, but it was like that wasn't there when she was a collegiate player. It just wasn't there. She was, the belle of the ball, if you will. And so you really started to see that humbleness once you got in the NBA and figured out that their player is better than me here, or I can't dominate, or I need to work on my game a little bit. I need to earn this a little bit more. Then you started seeing the humbleness.
I like what you said there, boss. Especially about the Olympic team. I love that because I think that was a great multiplier and equalizer for her. I think if she would have got on there, a lot of people want her to go. And I'm not a big fan of the women or men Olympic team. I don't really think we should be able to play in basketball. Just my personal opinion. Especially sending the players that we play to try to dominate. But I think that made her see, realistically, no. In her own words, she basically said, I want to basically make sure I quote it for the most part. She basically said she's earned everything, but yes, she does have privilege. And that would have been the ultimate privilege. So in reality, Mr. Charles, I look at her and I've seen some, we all spoke to her growth. So it's a simple question: what has she done wrong?
I don't know if it's even wrong because somebody in the same place would have probably, many people in the same place would have probably done the same thing. Because you can't control how people feel and what they're right, particularly with the media. But I think she did embrace the privilege. I think she really embraced it in Iowa, but she was successful and she was like, great, okay, yeah. Then she went to WNBA and they was up on her early on. And she was embracing it then too. It's like, yeah, okay, here I am. But I think though that part of that is when she started to change though, or at least acknowledge the past of people before her, and I think we're used to when somebody like that, like they're a rookie or something early on, you hear them say that proverbial phrase, "Yo, I'm just playing my game, but I got a long way to go." And when you don't hear that, some people go, "Oh, well, she, whatever." But it's not saying she's wrong because she has the right to do that. The one thing I say, I'll come back to this again. I think that it showed a sign of growth when she started to acknowledge some of the people in the past of the game. But the one thing that I said before, and love it or hate it or however you see it, even if she continued to embrace the privilege, the one thing that she could have done, and it wouldn't have mattered, people would like it or not. Domination is key to everything. Equalize every damn thing. That's what Tiger did. Domination. You come in and go, okay, y'all say I'm that good. They gonna crown me. I'm gonna show y'all. I'm about to tear these people up. And then if I don't want to acknowledge them afterwards, it may not be popular. The hell with them. I stand on what I stand on. And I think that's how she could have been. But when you get humbled, well, she was a little bit. She's still a hell of a player. Got a long way to go. And gonna be great. I think she's gonna be great. But when you get humbled because you can't be dominant all the time, you got to go. Man. Like Bird said about it was like watching Michael Jordan when he dropped 60s when as a rookie or whatever. He says like watching guys in sneakers, bro. But he said, but you ain't gonna beat us, man. He said you gotta bring Jesus with you too. Not trying to be blasphemous or nothing. You got Jesus with you because you gonna look amazing, but you ain't beating us, dog. It's a team. You got 63. Nah, okay, that ain't enough. Still ain't enough. Individually, you're amazing. I watch you all day, but it's not enough. But the point of it is, and I think getting back to what you mentioned about LeBron, and it's not. I don't think it. I understand about the dad situation. I think though LeBron, and I'm not saying that he is or whatever, And I think LeBron has an attitude, and I think his attitude starts with the fact that he feels like he made it on his own, and nobody helped me. And what I got, I earned on my own. Because when I was 16, 17, I was taking care of my mama. I was in high school. I was going to get a Hummer, signs for a Hummer. They didn't want me to play because they thought we were on assistance, and there's no way we can get that done. So they wanted to make me ineligible in high school. But he go, look, white folks do it all the time. You know what? It's based on potential. So my son's gonna be a doctor. Oh, that's right. We're dealing with future income. So we're gonna grant you a car. But because he was a man of color or whatever, there's no way somebody that's on assistance should have a truck. Anyway, I could go all day on that because I was around that personally. But the point of it is, when you're dominant, come back to Caitlin Clark. When you're dominant and you dominate, you can't say nothing. But again, we crowned her and she's very good, but she ain't dominant. She's damn good. So you want to crown her based on future? It's talk about potential like you do with the NBA draft. That's why only so many people, teams in the 80s and 90s was only good because only so many people know what they're doing. So you get the number one pick, and your first pick, with the first pick, the Clippers select Michael Olin. Who? Michael Olin Candy. What? Who? Anyway, leave that right there, man.
I love the conversation, gentlemen. But you brought up Miss Angel Reese, Mr. DeMaurice, a little while ago, and I hear it. So don't get me wrong, I hear and I see the difference. But let's look at Angel Reese if she was to have basically the same attention that Caitlin Clark got, and did she deserve the attention that Caitlin Clark got? In your opinion, sir?
I know she was breaking some records here in Chicago as a rookie, and she was in the conversation for rookie of the year. Here because she was dominant in that particular position, in my opinion, because the her teammate was out for a while. The Brazilian young lady from South Carolina, she was out for a while, and Angel Reese was holding it down by herself with a team to me that wasn't that talented. But I think Angel Reese sometimes gets in her own way with certain remarks and certain things that she does. She gets in her own way, and I don't think she has humbled herself because she got a lot of press in LSU. She was allowed to, and I blame that on maybe her family, and I blame that on that coach that she had. Um, and that really kind of let Angel Reese do what she wanted to do instead of really trying to develop her as a young lady and an athlete. And so that was to me the biggest difference between her and Caitlin Clark. I do think that in these areas where you have white players in these states like Wisconsin and Iowa, they sports writers see and they don't see. So if things Caitlin Clark did that were wrong or off a little bit, they're not going to report that. We mentioned about Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. They were who they were back then. But as soon as Brett Favre get to New York, he starts sending naked pictures. I'm pretty sure that's not the first naked picture he sent. And Aaron Rodgers in his arrogance, he had that all along. It just got exposed, and so hopefully, um, you know that Caitlin Clark doesn't have any kind of character flaws where she can continue to be a great player or move on to be a great player. But I think Angel Reese sometimes any little thing she does doesn't have the media savvy to kind of keep things under wrap or not say certain things, and I think sometimes she gets in her own way, and it gets kind of blown in her face. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, boss, and that's where I was with that. And that's not to say even if she was, the media would have gravitated towards her, but I think that has subtracted from her some. To what extent, I'm not sure, but yeah, I agree with that. I remember, I think if I'm not mistaken, after she won the championship the last year of college, she had to sit out for some games for a behavioral problem or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, same question to you, Mr. Mr. Charles, because we're looking at her in a sense, and it goes back to the early question: what if she was black? You know, what if she was black? And we're speaking of Caitlin Clark. So when DeMarie said that, you know, we kind of put Angel Reese there, but when you kind of really pull back the curtains, we see something a little different. Your response to it.
Yeah, no doubt. I think though that as you DeMaurice mentioned that sometimes Angel Reese got in her own way. I think because she felt disrespected because she felt like she was just as good, if not better, than Caitlin Clark at her position. Okay, not so much the better overall, whatever. She felt at her position she wasn't getting the love that Caitlin Clark was getting. She wasn't on that pedestal, and she said, "Well, hell, we winning, we doing this. I'm the leader of this team. Why can't I get no love?" And I think she was trying too hard to prove herself and to be liked. Right? She wanted everybody to like her the way they like Caitlin Clark, particularly the media. And when she wasn't receiving that, she was like, she would say certain things. That girl ain't all that. She already all up on her and all, You know how folks can be. But I think the one reason why Caitlin Clark was seen more dominant by some people, I'm gonna give the media a little out here, is because of the supporting cast that Caitlin Clark had. Her her supporting cast was pretty good, but it was nowhere near like South Carolina, right? With Don Staley and all that. They had a lot of folks. And that's how it was seen. So that's why I think Caitlin Clark was seen more as a dominant player. Also, too, it didn't help that Angel Reese, from the standpoint, even though she's one hell of a player, she became a villain, particularly after she personally went after the the media's new hero, right? She went after the media's new hero after when they were playing the game. She pointed to the finger, something that about the ring, something that Caitlin Clark had done previously as well, and had waved people off.
Mm-hmm.
But because she went after the media darling, the media hero, the heir apparent that they crowned, she went after. Her. Said, "I'm gonna destroy her any way I can." A lot of people they turned it they did not like that and they went after her. And she didn't help herself by some of her actions after that, trying to show that she was a ballerette and all that other stuff. So, and the more fuel she added, the more they kept turning the heat up on that fire. And she a lot of that she did to herself.
Good stuff here, gentlemen. Real good stuff. I'm gonna bring this to a close with this because, and I'm gonna get you guys' opinion. That's part of the reason. There's so many reasons why I love this woman. And DeMaurice, you talked about it when you said she, you know, she made some stumbles. Speaking of Angela Reese, Angel Reese, and it could have been her family, the people who she around. Dawn Staley, because when you look at Dawn Staley, she's not only a coach, she's not only a mentor. It's almost like she take on a mother sense to the women that come to her, and you don't see them once they're with her, and once they move on either to the WNBA or just move on to life. Look at the woman that they are, and you can't tell me Dawn doesn't play a vital part in that. Your reaction to it, Mr. Charles?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I think that Don Staley feels as if a lot of times people disrespected her or does not respect a certain kind of team and they play favor to certain people or certain teams or whatever. So she tells her team that the only way that we can really get that favor is to dominate and win. And when we win, there's nothing they can say. And I think that starts with her because she's hard. She's hard, man. She's hardcore Philly, right? Philly, blue collar, no nonsense. But I want to give her a little bit more favor because at first she just seemed like for a lot of people thought she was just angry and mean, and she's been like the hell with Gino Honorami, Gino A and all that other stuff. We're good too. But the one thing she's done, she flipped it and go, you know what? I think I can do a little something. People can like me. I can make a little bit more money. I get some more endorsements if I just kind of just nod my head, be cool, and not seem so angry. And I think she flipped that with her personality. And I say that because, and I'm gonna say this real quick, as you said, I can say what I need to say. Ain't no way in hell the old Don Staley win no damn Aflac commercial. Y'all do the math. I'm gonna leave it right there too.
No, no, I couldn't see that.
All
No.
right then.
Go on, Mr. Demis. Go on, boy. Go on. What you
Yeah,
got? What can't you see?
I
Go
could
ahead.
see her in, in those commercials with Coach K. No, no, no. But what she was able to do, I think, is she 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 recruits players that have integrity and they're humble and they carry themselves well. And I think that's a mark of a good coach and a leader. That she's a leader of women, and you don't hear about any of her players, knock on wood, any of her players doing anything crass, being classless, doing stuff that, will come back on her like, well, why didn't you check this when she was at South Carolina? And that's the difference between her and the LSU coach. The LSU coach has no class, she's crass, and you see it represented in her players and how they play and how they carry themselves way beyond LSU. Name me a South Carolina player who is classless and doesn't carry themselves well after they leave that program. I'll wait.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, one
you're right, man.
one on the teetering on the bridge, though, girl. We're gonna leave that alone and Dom made her go through the process. That's all I'm gonna
Yep,
say.
yep,
Right. Well, gentlemen, I was gonna, have this on tap to talk about. I'm gonna save this to another show because what we covered today was huge, man. It was real good stuff. It's we throw out the word or the terminology white privilege quite a bit, and when it's necessary, and we throw it out, and it exists. It's not a figment or imagination. It is out there. We live it. We know it. We see it. And we know when we see it. But I was listening to a gentleman the other day, and I was reading a little bit about this. And to me, there's something out there called white guilt that doesn't get the attention. And I think that's a good conversation for us to really explore. So maybe our next show or show real soon, we will take on white privilege versus white guilt. But for this one right here, man, we'll put a lid on this. You two gentlemen, man, I love it. 2025 gonna be a mother. You know what? Keep in mind that keep in mind that God loves you. You know we love you too. Always want to thank you for giving us an ear. I want to tell you once again, this podcast, When Black Men Talk, is brought to you by Pod Up. I want to thank those good folks over there for doing what they do and supporting us. We'll get back together real soon. Yeah, 6, 7 days. Be on the lookout. We'll be coming at you. Appreciate it.